All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dance Studio Owner Life Coaching. Today, I am very happy to have my friend Judy Sullivan on the podcast. Um, and today, we're talking about the first in our series on the life that we build. And I asked Judy to come on and join us and talk about her life because I think that some of you could identify with her and her story. And I'm just happy to say hello and welcome. How are you today?
Hi, Ginger. I'm awesome. I'm awesome. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Absolutely. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your studio and how you got started?
So my name is Judy Sullivan. I am celebrating our 25th anniversary of our studio this year. I own a dance studio in Taunton, Massachusetts, and I'm so excited and so proud to have been in business for 25 years through COVID, through everything, through all the ups and downs. And I feel like I've made it because
Yes.
I've made it to 25. And we just sometimes I think as we keep going every year, okay, next year it's this year, next year it's 20, then it's 21. And we tell somebody, well, they say, oh, how long have you had your studio? And you say 25 years. And they go, wow, that's a long time. And you go, oh, yeah, it is a long time.
Right.
Doesn't feel like it sometimes, and other times it does, but
Yeah.
it really
Um,
does.
so, why did you start your studio? Do you remember what led you to get started?
So I was not going to own a studio when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I was going to be on Broadway. That was my goal. Went to school for theater and dance, got my degree, moved to New York City, absolutely had a blast. Got a lot of jobs right away. Did a couple tours. It was awesome. And then it started to peter out
Mm.
and it became hard. And I was doing a lot more office jobs. And it was in a lot of debt. And I was like, oh, I was like, Mom, I think I'm coming home for a while. Came home, got it. I said, I'm done. I am done with theater. I'm done with dance. I'm not doing any of that. I'm gonna go be a regular, normal person and get an office job. Got a job, uh, was in that job for about a year, and then I auditioned for a show. Like a local show, like a little review, and I did that at night. And I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I said, oh, I could still kind of do this. I wasn't sure I wanted to do this anymore. And then my dance teacher I grew up with died. And her mom asked me to come in and teach some classes for her. She heard I was back in the area. And so I came in and I taught some classes and taught for somebody else as well. And then after 2 years of this, the mom of my former dance teacher had to close the studio because it was failing very badly. And I had that decision to make. What
Mm.
do I want to do? Do I want to stay? Because I also had a daytime job as well in an office. And I said, do I want to stay in this office job? I've gotten this back in this taste of dancing again. I love teaching again. Maybe this is what I want to do. And I just happened to drive down Main Street in Taunton and saw a place that was for rent, called him up, said, okay, can I come in and look at it? Said, hey, Mom, this is what I'm going to do. And there we are.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And I love the stories of people who didn't set out to do it from the start.
No, it's funny. When I look back, I did love to teach when I was younger. I was teaching my own classes at age 15, which I would never have anybody do now, but that was the time
I
period
think we
back
all
then.
did that back the 70s and the 80s and stuff. Like
Yeah,
we just taught at
yeah.
any age.
That's what we did, and I loved it. But I used to like play dance studio, but not
Yeah.
realizing that that was something why you were doing that is because that's what you were eventually going to do, but you didn't like identify that. It was like, oh, I would look at my last year's like recital programs and go, okay, so who could I put in this class and who could I put in that class? And I find that hysterical now thinking about that, going, oh, I don't like doing that now.
Yeah.
That's not the fun part of owning a studio.
Wow. You say you would play dance studio. I did that too. I remember coming home from school, maybe middle school, high school years, and I would turn on, my dad had a record player, turn
Right.
on the music, and I'd start choreographing like full shows.
Oh,
And I would
yes.
work on
Yeah.
different things, and I had notebooks, and I was writing all the things out. And I imagined like how many rooms we'd have, and we'd have a theater within our school so we could do our performances in house. And I loved
Yeah.
coffee even then. So I was like, we're gonna have a coffee shop in the front.
Love
But
it.
yeah, there's these little seeds that were planted when we were younger.
Right. Right.
So once you started your studio, what were some challenges that you faced early on?
So the challenge was I didn't have a business background. I only knew how to teach dance,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew how to dance, and I knew how to choreograph, and I knew how to pick costumes and all that. But I didn't know how to price my classes. I didn't know how to tell people they owed me money and how to make sure I was collecting that money. I knew nothing about that. So, I mean, I would say for the first, my goodness, even 10 years, I would say I was just, I started out really, really cheap. I thought, if the cheaper, the better. I thought, well, I see what this dance studio has this much, so I'm going to charge this much. And then it's going to go up this, and I'm going to give sibling discounts, and I'm going to give all of these discounts. And oh, they should, yeah. And it was hard. It was hard. It was hard. And I thought I opened the studio, the other studio had closed. Obviously there were other studios in the area, but the studio I grew up at had closed. So I was like, oh, all these people are going to come. And I ended up with 31 students my first year. And I remember being very disappointed because I thought that, oh, well, I'm opening a studio. I taught at this other place. All these people are going to follow me. And they didn't. And that was a good kick in the rear end there to say, okay, well, now it's maybe not as easy as you thought. But that first year, I was like, oh, I had those people that supported me. And I was like, this is really, really great. This is fun. I love this. This is a great choice. I taught by myself for the first 3 years. It was a one room dance studio. I taught all the classes. Um, I started out with a small competition team because some of them had been with me at the other studio that had closed. Um, and I could only offer though what I could teach. So there was no hip hop. And I decided against doing acro at that point, even though I had taught it.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, nope, I didn't. I said, nope, that's too much for me. I'm just going to do this. I just did ballet, tap, and jazz.
Yeah.
Um, so that, was different because a lot of people call, where do you do hip hop? Oh, we want to do acro. I'm like, oh, sorry, we don't do that. And I felt bad. And I said, well, this is what we're doing. And after 3 years, I said, I need a new place. We were growing. Um, Also, my lease was up, and I knew I wanted another room. I knew I wanted to hire somebody. And so I ended up locking into the place that I'm still currently in. So we have been there for 22 years. My goodness.
Mm.
Um, it's an old uh, lumber company building. We're on the second floor. What sold me about this place was the windows. It
Mm.
reminded me of my studio growing up, where has all the windows in the large studio, and they built it out to my specifications. It was awesome. Um, we have 2 rooms for classes. And I hired a teacher. I still wasn't able to offer hip hop, but I had somebody else to
Mm-hmm.
release that burden off of me. It wasn't for another couple years before I hired somebody for hip hop. And we actually didn't start acro until 2021.
Okay.
So we stayed at that level. And then I finally said, you know what? I feel like I want to teach acro again. So here we are. And I love teaching acro now
Yeah.
again. So,
So one of the things that came to mind as you were talking was the staying in your location. And this is something that I hear constantly. On one hand, I hear people who've been in business for decades, like yourself, who say, oh no, I stay in my location. It works. I know it makes money. We have the profit. Um, no, it's not X, Y, or Z, but this works for us, and these are businesses that have been staying around. On the other hand, there's people who are kind of feeling we're busting at the seams, we need a bigger place, and the stress of the build out and negotiations and things like that. And sometimes they might be successful, and sometimes they might find like, oh man, we expanded too soon.
Mhm.
And um, the desire to expand, I know for a lot of listeners, is something where they feel like they have to do it and that's the only way. Do you have any kind of thoughts around that about staying in your location and what's possible, um, versus expanding to bigger and bigger facilities?
Well, it's funny that you asked that because I actually am starting to think about trying to find another location.
Yeah.
But I thought of it probably 10 years ago. Um, but then I don't know, I talked to a few people and it was like, no, I think you need to stay where you are. Let's stay where we are. Um, Definitely being with just being limited to two rooms
Mm-hmm.
definitely makes scheduling actually a little bit easier because you only have those two rooms. So,
Yeah.
you can offer an advanced class in this room at this time for teenagers, and then you can offer a little kid class in this room. So you're always offering. We always try to offer a younger kids class at 5 o'clock because that's the popular time in our
Right.
area. But we also have that other room. It presents challenges as we want to grow and we don't have that third space to use like for rehearsal space. Like, so if we have this class, and then you could have another teacher come in and use that space for rehearsals or for solo lessons or whatever. So we're kind of limited on that. Um, which has started to frustrate me a little bit this year. And I would say, though, year 25 is the first year that I have felt frustrated and said, I think I really need to start looking for a bigger place. I
Yeah.
really want to have that third studio. There's no place, unfortunately, to expand where I am, um, which is sad because I
Yeah.
really like it.
Mm.
Um, but the thought process has started. I'm
Right.
started thinking about maybe it's time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't year 5, it wasn't year 10, it's year 25.
Right. Right.
So it took us a while. And it was, I think also you have to look at what kind of business you want as well. Do you want to keep adding those rooms and continuing to grow up? And do you want to be a 3,000 student studio? Or are you happy and manageable where you are at 200?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when it works, because it works, it's here and here, and there's this class, this class, this class, this class. It doesn't, it's easy enough to just to keep those classes and to know that you only have the two rooms,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's you offer, this is what we offer.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting. I was listening. Tiffany Henderson was talking about like with the Twinkle Star model, and she said people don't realize that for her, she said, I can get 500 students through a two-room studio before it's time to expand.
Mhm.
And when I say that to other people, they're like, what? I said, well, here's the thing. There's things that make us feel like we're getting too big, like the waiting room is too crowded, or
Mhm.
there's no more parking, and things like that. But if you look at it from the perspective of, okay, of all the hours that you have available, are all the classes filled and waitlisted?
Right.
9 times out of 10, a studio owner will say, no, I have room in my classes. Right. So you have more capacity.
Mhm.
Um, or like I had the issue of no parking and people were like parking up the street. And I said, oh, well, duh. During COVID, we staggered the class times. So
Right.
kindergarten class, which is so big, you come in 15 minutes offset and now there's no parking issues. So there's
Mhm.
definitely ways around that.
Right.
When you hired staff,
Mhm.
whether it's faculty or people in customer service, were there any challenges with that?
It was definitely hard finding somebody, because originally I thought I wanted people like me.
Mm,
I wanted to hire people who were exactly like me, who um, taught like I taught. And I remember hiring my first employee, and it took a while because I just was like, why is there nobody that I can find that is like me?
mhm, mhm.
But what I realized, I didn't realize what I was looking for is somebody who agreed with how I wanted the culture of my studio to be,
Yeah,
and not so much as taught like me. I needed
right.
somebody who taught differently so you can attract different people because not everybody's going to mesh with me. Um, and so I did find that person, and she was with me for 3 years. And she was great. She brought in a different energy and a different level to the studio. When she left, um, I hired another woman to come in who is still with me. So that she's been with us, I think this is her 17th year with us. And she is my secondhand person.
Yeah.
She definitely teaches different than me,
Mhm.
but she loves our culture and our values and agrees with all of that.
Mm,
So, you have to it's not finding somebody who teaches just like you. It's
right.
finding the people that want to help you expand what you teach and teach differently and offer different things, but they agree and they align with your principles and your core values.
Yeah, yeah. So through those years, was there ever a time when you said, "Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore," even
You
for a
know, that's
moment?
that's funny. I don't think there has been.
That's incredible.
Actually, wait, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. There was a brief period,
Hmm.
and that period was when I had my first child.
Okay.
So he was born in September, right around Labor Day. And I had all the teachers lined up. I was already
Right.
planning, I was going to be out of the studio for like 2 months or whatever. I did not want to go back into the studio. I
Yeah.
adored being home with my son. This is my one that's graduating. Um,
Mm.
and I didn't go to the studio. I didn't set foot in that studio for almost 2 months, which is amazing to me now, because I was only 6 years in. Um, and it wasn't, I don't know, it was just like, wow, I'm happy at home. I'm just happy at home. I got other people doing this, and I don't know, I just want to stay home with him and do everything with my baby.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny because my mother, who was working at the desk at that point, called me up one day and she was like, Judy, you need to start coming back into the studio. People miss you, and you need to
Mm.
start. And I was like, I know, but I love being home with my baby. And she's like, yes, I know, but you need to start coming back into the studio. And I did.
Oh,
And obviously everything is fine. But so maybe I don't know that I wanted to say, I don't think that was, I don't want to do this anymore.
yeah.
I think it was just that postpartum of, this is my baby. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. This was, somebody, I never really saw myself as having a bunch of kids. I really hadn't seen that. I had children late in life. It really wasn't something I didn't say at 18, oh, I was going to have, 5 kids. It was just,
Hmm.
oh, and here we are at 30 something years old having your first child. And oh my goodness, this is a baby. And this is my baby.
Yeah.
And what's a studio? What does dancing? What's that? And so I think that was it. But did I ever want to give up? No, not
Okay.
even through COVID. I was a stubborn pain during COVID. I was stubborn. That studio was going to keep going. We did so much. I mean, my goodness, if I could do backflips, I was doing I would have been doing
Yeah.
backflips to
Yeah.
keep that studio running.
Mm.
That was not gonna nothing. And I said, and now I look and go, if I ever feel like I have failed in any way, I say, but no, Judy, you made it through COVID. You
Yeah.
kept that studio going.
Yeah.
I
And
was
multiple
insistent.
recessions, Judy.
Yep. Yep. Oh yes, multiple ones.
Multiple
Yes.
recessions.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we're year 25. We've outlasted a lot, and we have
Mhm.
kept going through a lot of ups and downs and teachers leaving and groups of students leaving, and
Yeah.
it's not all happy.
Yeah.
There's obviously those low points in there, but yeah, and that was the only part where it was like,
Yeah.
nah, I'm just going to stay home with my baby.
I'm like, yeah. Um, what was it like since you had your son early on in your studio ownership journey and now he's graduating? Were there any lessons you learned along the way of raising children and having a studio? Whether it's them, because your son dance, do both your children dance?
I have three children,
Three
and
children, okay.
two of them dance. Two
Okay.
of them dance.
So, any lessons learned from having your children dance at your own studio?
Don't teach your own kids. Hire somebody else to teach your own children.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
Yeah,
so why? For
yeah.
for those who don't get it yet, tell us why, Judy.
Oh my goodness. My children, because I did teach my son who's graduating and my daughter when they were younger. I would say I taught my son. I didn't do the dance with me program with him, which is our mommy and me class. I had my
Right.
other teacher teach us that, which was great because, and I should have learned from that and said, great, because he was listening to her and he was not going to listen to me because he saw me as mom and didn't see me. He couldn't differentiate between dance teacher and mom. Um, but then I taught him for 2 years after that, um, in a regular 3 and 4 year old class. And then I finally was like, yeah, I think you need to go with this other teacher. And he went with the other teacher for years until he was probably, I don't know, 10, maybe 10 or 11.
Okay.
I got him back. But yeah, my daughter is the different story. My daughter, I did teach her dance with me class. I don't recommend it. I carried her around the room screaming for that year.
Hmm. That must have
Um,
been so pleasant.
oh, it was awful. Um, it was very stressful.
Yeah.
I tried to get her into classes with the other teachers when she was then 3 and 4, and she did not want to.
Yeah.
I have tried to pass her off numerous times. Um, I've tried to pass off her solos. I've tried to pass off, and she refuses. She would like to be with me. She does take class with other teachers, but she does have me. It's stressful. It's
Yeah.
it's very stressful. And I think there was also that difference between the boy and the girl.
Right.
Um, but he was a handful as well, not with the attitude as much as the girl, but he was a handful as well.
Yeah.
But I do not recommend it. I do not recommend teaching your own
I
child.
agree with you. I subbed in for my son's acro class one time, and it was the longest hour of my life. Mom, look at this. Mom, look at. I'm like, stop it. I have to talk to everybody.
I have other kids. I have other
Mom,
kids here. I
mom,
can't pay attention
mom.
to you. Yes.
And he's like clinging to my leg, and I was like, oh my gosh. I felt like I couldn't be fully present as a teacher.
Yes, yes, yes. It's hard because then I also didn't want to be embarrassed. I
Right.
didn't want my child to embarrass me by misbehaving
Mhm.
or by doing something they weren't supposed to do,
Right.
and me going, my God, we can't do that because then the other kids see it and they think that, well, she's doing that, and
Yeah.
it's very hard. And it's still very hard as they grow older, to deal with, parents who think that you're favoring your own children.
Oh yeah.
It's really hard. And I've been very particular. We have a rule at our studio. This is the
Hmm.
rule for all of the teachers, and all the choreographers, that every dancer in that studio deserves your attention and deserves to be in the front row,
Yeah.
whether they are the best dancer or they're not the best dancer.
Yeah.
They all deserve that attention and that energy from you and that same love that you give your own children.
Yeah.
Um, and I have struggled, and made sure that everybody's like, nope, that we need to, nope. where I would watch my own children and say, yeah, you're going to be in the back row. You're in the back row, and I'm going to pull all these kids in the front row. And then you feel bad because you're like, well, why my daughter should be in the front row for a little bit, but yet she needs to go in the back because I need to have all these other people here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So also as they get older, you start to feature as the choreography gets more intricate with your dancers, you can start to feature different kids and pull them out and then have them kind of audition for those and see how that works. Now, my son is a senior, and I said, well, this is it. So he is front row center for his dances that he's doing with me. But
Yeah.
I said, you're a senior. This
Right.
is it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put you here because I don't have any other time to put you there. You have earned this slot now.
Ooh. I don't have any other time to put you there.
Yep.
Mm.
Yep. This is it. I've got other kids in this class who are freshmen, sophomores, juniors. They've got another couple of years. They're going to get up there,
Yeah.
and it's not like he's there the whole time. They move around, obviously, you're choreographing, they have to move around. But it's like, no, you're here. You're standing here. You're standing
Right.
here. I haven't gotten any pushback, but then again, if anybody said anything, I'd be like, senior,
Okay.
graduating,
Yeah. Yeah.
leaving.
Mm.
Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself over this time?
Oh my goodness. I always thought I was a strong person,
Hmm.
but I've definitely learned how strong I am. I've learned how to disconnect myself from business being personal.
Yeah.
I've learned to understand that business is business and
Okay.
it cannot be personal. You cannot take it personally when somebody
Yeah.
leaves. It's not a
Mm.
personal attack on you. It's not you. They don't like you.
Yeah.
As a person, they don't like some policy at your business. They don't
Hmm.
like how things are run. That's not you.
Yeah.
That's the business.
Yeah.
That has been definitely something I've learned. Um, the dance parents are not your friends. That is a rough one to learn. I am friendly
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
but I very much understand that they are my customers,
Right.
and I can be friendly with you, but you are my customer.
Hmm.
So I understand that it could change in an instant, and I have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And you just have to have that step back of, yes, I love you. You're fun. We chat. We hang out. It's when we went to Disney as a studio,
Hmm.
that was interesting because, of course, we were in the same hotel and we were spending all this time together and we were in the pool at night together. And it was like, you got to know these people more, maybe so than just hanging out the studio.
Right.
But then it's like, well, yes, but I'm still your daughter's teacher. But yes, we're hanging out in the pool and we can talk about some things, but you're not ever going to know everything that's going on in my life.
Right.
You know,
Right.
how pool conversations go, 10 o'clock at Disney. So
Yeah. As you've grown and learned more about yourself, has have you noticed anything in terms of like the changes in your capacity to handle certain things or your capacity to make decisions on a larger scale?
definitely, I've grown so much more confident in my decision making and in saying, this, again, this kid can't come to class, or this kid wants to quit. This kid doesn't want to come anymore. This kid doesn't like the costume. This kid doesn't like the dance. They don't like the song. They don't. And it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
that's what we do here. This is our attendance policy. This is our payment policy. We pick the songs.
Hmm.
I even had to say this year that, well, um, part of dance education is learning to appreciate different genres of music.
Mm-hmm.
And while this
Mm-hmm.
may not be your favorite song, I am introducing you to new music styles that you maybe wouldn't listen to.
Yeah.
And you never know, you might like this song.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might become a memory in a few years
Right.
of, oh, how fun that song was. I thought it was dorky when she started it, but boy, that turned out to be so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, when you look back on like the changes in your growth and things, were there things that as a parent you just drew a line in the sand where you wanted to preserve and protect relationship with your family versus the studio encroaching on your time with your family?
Yes. And a lot of this has happened over the past, 5 years or so, where I have really started to set boundaries.
Yeah.
Um, I I look ahead at my schedule and I say, well, I know I have this, and this event. I want to be present at those events and not sitting here on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock in the afternoon getting something ready for a Monday or Tuesday when I could have A, done it on Friday while kids were still in school, or B, do it on Monday morning. You know, um, I don't answer the phone. I have the phone forwarded to my cell phone during the day. I don't answer the phone if I'm busy doing something. It can go to voicemail. I will return the call. If I'm at an event, so if I have a award ceremony, goodness, a concert, something, a parent, something with my kids, and I'm not scheduled to be at the studio that night, I will let my office staff know that I am at a concert. I am at an awards night. So unless the building is burning down, please try to handle it.
Yeah.
They send me a nightly update anyway. But unless the building is burning down, I think it can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that was hard because starting the studio, you're there, 5 days a week, whatever, and you're the only teacher. So you're always there. And then once you hire somebody, we were still always there together. And then, I mean, I would say it was probably not till year 15
Hmm.
where and I'm just randomly guessing,
Yeah.
where I took a night off
Hmm.
and I wasn't at the studio. But I always wanted to know what was going on.
Hmm.
And I would sit there and go, okay, it's 6 o'clock. Who do you think came tonight? Do you think they all came to class tonight? Do you think this person came? Do you think they're being mean? Silly things. You're always like, oh, I would be doing this at this time or something. I have learned to turn that off. I
Yeah.
know that I'm not, I don't work on Wednesdays or Friday evenings. I do go into the studio, but not every week. This is a week I'm not going in. Um, and I will not be sitting there going, oh, what time is it? Should I check in and see what class is going on now? Should I see if everybody came to class? Did these kids get their costume? Did this one pay their bill? I don't, that is not something I need to know in real time.
Right.
That can wait and
Yeah.
I can be present. One of the regrets that I have is that I didn't set these boundaries earlier
Okay.
and that I missed some of my children's early things at school
Mm.
because I was teaching.
Yeah.
And I said, well, those parents, they want me there. I'm teaching their kids. This is how I make
Yeah.
my money.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older and my kids have gotten older and I've been in business for so long, I realized that those same parents, if their kid was in something, would not be there. Their dancer
Right.
would not be there. So they have to expect that there are days when I am not going to be there or my staff isn't going to be there. I give that same liberty to my staff. And I say, if you have a concert for your dancer for your child on Wednesdays at 5 o'clock, and you usually teach that class at 5 o'clock on Wednesdays,
Yeah.
let me know and we'll get coverage. So
Mm.
I want you to go to that kid's concert. I don't want you to stay here and miss out on that.
Right.
And
Right.
I stopped. I now go to almost everything. I skipped something last year and I was
Mhm.
mad at myself that I skipped it.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
so so I said, oh, I'm done skipping things. But then I was like, oh no, it was like a random thing. We didn't know what was going to happen. And I had rehearsals scheduled, and could it have been changed? Sure.
Yeah.
I could have had somebody else do the rehearsal. But I was like, no, no. And then I was mad I didn't go.
Mm.
So I late to the studio yesterday? Yes. Do I teach at 5 o'clock on Tuesdays? Yes. Was I late yesterday? Yes. Why? My son got a scholarship award. I wanted to go be there for it to be presented.
Yeah.
It was a half an hour thing. Oh well. I had a teacher coverage. I came in halfway through the class. It was fine. I was saying I might not even be here for the whole first class. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was more important that I was with my son yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad I was there.
Yeah. One of the things that I know about you is that you do plenty of professional development, ongoing education for yourself. Can you talk a little bit about that and the benefits that you've had through doing that regularly?
Definitely. So when I first moved back home from New York, and I was in the office job, and then I got hired to teach at my former dance studio.
Yeah.
Um, the the dance studio owner's mom, she said, this girl who was not on staff there, but was on staff in another dance studio, um, she could get you into um, this dance teachers club organization. I was like, oh, what's that? And she's like, oh, Carol went to that, and it was a great, they go and they learn things and they learn how to do things. I was like, oh, well, that sounds fun, but you
Yeah.
have to be teaching in a studio situation for 2 years before you can even be considered
Okay.
for this, which, I was like, oh, okay. So I was almost done with that 2 years, and they got me that application. I went in, I took these, I passed my ballet and jazz exam, which was some of the hardest 5 hours of my life, in-person exams with all this
Yeah.
terminology and stuff. Um, and then they said, well, we have meetings 4 times a year. And now that you're in this, we can get you into this organization. I was like, oh, that's awesome. So, I would go to these things on Sundays, and you'd be there and you'd meet all these teachers and you'd learn not just combinations, but how to teach things, new steps. And you
Yeah.
got a nice sense of camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
I have stayed in those organizations. I got my 25-year pin this past fall
Oh,
for one
wonderful.
of those organizations, and I'm getting my 25-year pin for the other one this summer. Um, and I have been an active member. I mean, sometimes people are just members, and they go and they go a few times and then you never see them again.
Yeah.
But I have gone, and I've been an active member for 25 years. So I have always been interested in that continuing education. Once things started to be offered online through Zoom, and I think that was around COVID time, I guess, where that was the only thing you could do, I signed up for everything. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I want to do this. This is a class. I don't have to leave my house. This is great. I can learn this. I can learn this. I can learn how to do this. Um, and I don't understand how, as an educator, you can say, I learned this in 1999 and I don't need to keep moving ahead with the times. And I
Hmm.
understand that there is YouTube out there and that there is TikTok out there, but there's something to be said for being in the room, even on Zoom, with someone and getting feedback immediately, getting to ask questions, say, could you do that again? Why
Yeah.
would you teach it like this? I used to teach it like this. What do you call that? Um, I I can't say enough about continuing education. Part of being on my staff is that you have to do 2 continuing education workshops a season. And I will
Okay.
pay for those. I will pay for
Oh,
those.
nice.
And anything over 2, if you want to do, you would, that's fine, but I would not pay after 2. But
Yeah.
I offer that because I want them to come and learn. You've got to keep learning.
Yeah.
And so then when I was so excited to do I feel like I joined everything. I was always saying, I'm in school today. No, I have school today. I have to go to my certificate of dance studio ownership. And I had to go and learn how to, that was fun because I got to learn more stuff about my business and not
Yeah.
just about what to do in the classroom. And that
Mm-hmm.
opened up a whole new thing about I can go to school for this now and I can keep learning. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how old I am, there are always new things to learn, new
Yeah.
things to see how other people do things and to say, "Oh, I never thought of that. I never thought that I needed a first aid kit in each room. I never knew I needed an emergency plan." You know, things that you just
You're
never thought about.
reminding me all of the things we went through in the certificate program. I'm like, yeah, all the
Yes.
facilities and emergency procedures.
Yes, all of that. And that's, that stuff that made you think and say, why don't I have this?
Yeah.
Why don't I have formal faculty evaluations? Why don't I have this? Why don't I have that? Why did I never think of that?
Yeah.
And I would never have learned that had I just said, well, I learned this in 1999 and this is how we're going to keep doing this.
Yeah. Mm.
Things change. Things change.
Yeah. Now, one other thing that I know about you, which I think is so fun, um, you've also done some performance yourself recently.
Yes, I sure have.
I
I
love it
sure
because
have.
you're doing something just for you. It's not you as the studio owner, you as the parent, it's for you. So tell us about that, how you got started, what's it like?
Yeah, so actually it's funny because I saw a memory pop up on my Facebook the other day where it showed me, and I don't know, I guess I did post it back then because it would have showed up on Facebook. So back in 2019, I started to, getting older, and I had been following a bunch of theaters in the area, and my kids were involved
Yeah.
in the theaters in the area. But I kept going, no, no, I can't perform anymore. I just do my studio. That's my thing. I do my studio. Um, and in 2019, I auditioned for a show, and I practiced for weeks. It was, I got called back. It was awesome. I didn't ultimately get cast in the show, which is fine.
Mhm.
Rejection. And I said, oh, huh. I was like, well, that's all right. Maybe I didn't want to do it anyway. Um, and then, COVID. So things were shut down. And then in 2021, was it? I think it was 2021. My daughter was cast in a show,
Mhm.
and we went to there was a membership meeting prior to them starting rehearsals, and the director got up and said, we're still looking for a couple women to round out the cast, to do, it's very, not a lot of rehearsals, and I turned to my daughter and I said, I'm going to go volunteer. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go volunteer. And I did. I'm like, if it's okay, I was like, so like, oh, is it okay if I do this? I do have acting experience. I mean, it was not Shakespeare at that time. So, but and the woman's like, of course, yes, of course they want a warm body, right? Um, and so I did that. And it was not a lot of rehearsals. It was great. It worked out. I was able to go. And my entire staff and a bunch of my older students came to see us in the show. It was awesome. I was like, oh, this is cool, and then I was like, yeah, but that took me away a little bit from the studio. Not sure I'm ready. So then I didn't do anything in 2022. My kids were doing things, they were doing shows. I was running them back and forth. And I said, I want to audition again. I'm going
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
I auditioned, didn't get in. I was mad. I was so mad. When I tell you, it colored my world for a few weeks. I was mad,
Yeah.
mad, mad, mad. And I said, well, fine. I'm going to audition for the next show.
Yeah.
And the person that told me that I had not gotten in the show, they said part of the reason was because of your availability.
Oh, okay.
And I went, oh. And I said, okay, all right, all right, I'm going to do this.
Mhm.
So I went and I auditioned for that next show. And I said, yes, I'm a dance studio owner, but I have staff and I'm going to make it work. And I got my rehearsal schedule in August, and I looked at it and went, oh my God, this is like rehearsal like 4 days a week.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I got to hire people. I
Mm.
hired two people within a few weeks in August when classes started in September, and they took over some of my classes. I didn't give them all of them up, but I let them gave them some of my classes so I would not be obligated to be there, and I had coverage for my other classes. That show was so much fun,
Mm.
and I was like going, wow. I still love to perform. I mean, yes, you perform at your recital, but it was different. It was acting, it was singing, it was dancing. It brought me back to what I had originally wanted to do. And I had pushback at the studio from some parents
Yeah.
who were like, well, where's Judy? She's always here. What do you mean? Oh, she's doing a play. Oh, she's doing a play. Oh. Um, and when I tell you, my classes were always covered.
Yeah.
I was very upfront with people. Um, and I got back in that studio and I said, oh, okay, I'm teaching again. The show's over. You feel like, oh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay, well, that's all right. So what did I do? I auditioned for another show. So I did a show in the fall and I did a show in the spring.
And
And
this is
I
what's funny though, that they would say, "Oh, she's doing a show." Isn't it awesome that your performing arts educator is actually performing?
don't you want somebody who is still it has their feet in it? I mean, it
Right.
was just it was funny to me, but I had to stand there and say, yep, this is me. I want to do this. This is what I am doing because this makes me feel good. I love to teach your kids, but I don't need to teach every single class. And at that point, there were, I think there were, that we had myself and two other teachers. When I said I'm doing this show and I'm going to be gone all this time, I hired two more. So we all of a sudden had five teachers. And after that, we've always had that many teachers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I didn't have to go back in and take those classes back.
Right.
Those that was what was my jumping off point of I don't need to teach all of these classes. These kids learn from different people. And this is great. This
Yeah.
is not me. And plus, then I have the time to go out and do these shows.
Yeah.
And I get to perform with my kids. I got to perform with my daughter in three shows,
Oh,
which is
wow.
so cool. And my son and I only got to do one show performing together,
Yeah.
but he's worked backstage in shows I've done.
Yeah.
So he's still been part of that experience.
What I love about this story is that you had a mindset that while some people would say this is a roadblock, it was
Mm.
merely a challenge for you.
Yep. Yep.
Some people say, I can't do that because I have dance. And you said, oh, I'll just get some dance teachers. Like
Just hire some people.
that mindset, though, that's what I admire so much because so many people say, I can't because, and don't necessarily open their mind to the possibility that there's another way to still have those classes running and do the thing that you want to do, which it sounds like this has filled your cup in a special new way.
Definitely. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's more me. And because I've given myself time to do stuff for me, it has given me
Mm,
that extra boost that I love even more being at
yeah,
the studio because I know sometimes I'm not going to be there because I have to go to rehearsal or I have to
yeah,
perform or I have to, I don't know, go see a show.
mm,
It is. It's you have to, the dance studio can't be your whole personality.
yeah,
You've got to do other things
yeah,
and
yeah,
you find that. And I'm so glad I didn't give up on performing,
yeah.
even though, boy, moving home from New York, that was like, nope, not doing it. Nope, nope, I'm done. Never
Yeah.
doing that again.
Isn't it funny how in life the things we say we're never going to do is the very thing we do. Because I swore up and down I was not going to be a business person. I was not going to own a business. I was not going to work in business. Didn't want nothing to do with business.
Right, right. And here we are, right? Here we are.
um, so as we wrap up, if you could impart a piece of wisdom that you've picked up along the way to a studio owner who maybe they're in either 5 years, 10 years in, or maybe they're just in a spot where things just feel kind of, they don't feel one way or the other. They're a little lukewarm in their journey. Is there anything you would say
Mhm.
to them?
Remember why you started it in the first place. Do
Yeah.
you love to see those little kids learn how to do a shuffle step? Do you love to see your choreography on stage?
Yeah.
Do you love to, to set up recitals and say this kid can be in this dance? And do you love to pick costumes? All of that, you can find things in there that you love.
Mm.
And remember that maybe when you were younger, maybe that's something you wanted to do. You wanted to help pick out costumes. You wanted to help teach little kids. You love to see those little kids. Maybe you love the teenagers. I don't know. Some people could. I'm not
Yeah.
sure that's me, but it's a
Yeah.
different kind of love. But definitely, keep keep going
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's get some help. Don't do it all yourself. It's okay to delegate.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay not to teach all the classes. It's okay not to do everything. It's okay to take time away. It's dance. It's a business, but it's dance.
Right.
And you also have, if you have a family,
Mm-hmm.
if you have, you have stuff going on, if you need time away because you have to take care of your parents for something because their health is going downhill, take that time. That studio will still be there if you've built the structure for it and you
Mm-hmm.
have the staff in place.
Yeah.
But you gotta be you and you gotta take time for you. Otherwise, you're just gonna be sitting there on the couch going, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
I'm too tired. It's too many parents are wearing me out.
Mm-hmm. Judy, if people want to find you online, where can they find you?
Oh my goodness. Um, you can follow my studio. I'm very proud of my studio Facebook and Instagram, which is Silver City Dance Center. So at Silver City Dance Center, yes, on
Yeah.
Instagram. That's where I do a lot of my postings from. You get to learn a lot about our culture of our studio.
Oh, I love that. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Judy.
Thank you, Ginger.